Hello, hello, hello again. I'm going to put on my seatbelt so it stops beeping. We are in a Jaguar F-Type Coupe R, and I just turned off eco mode to get rid of the stop start. We're going to put the loud button on. We're going to activate dynamic mode because we want all the dynamic, as much dynamic as we can get. DSC is off, stability control is off, and we're going to run the figure 8 once I verify the V-Box is logging. And just a second, let me double check that. Sometimes the data loggers take a little bit of coaxing to make them work. We are in Johnny Lieberman's long-term Jaguar F-Type Coupe R, and we're going to run the figure 8 lap time on it. While I wait for that to boot up, figure 8 is two 200-foot diameter skid pads that are separated by 500 feet. It's a mini road course. Very good for subjective feedback on cars. Okay, we're good. Put it in manual mode, and we should be good to go. This car is kind of an exercise in restraint, but we'll see how we'll see how it does. Second gear is going to be a little tight. I do this just in third. How you go fast. That's not how you go fast. I'm going to try to stay a gear up when I power out because the throttle response is a little bit too much. I'm still able to power. Too much on the brakes there. I'm still able to get too much power to the rear axle in third, which tells me I can get away with short shifting and still drive out. If I have a bit more restraint with second, I feel like I can get it, but it's hard to have restraint when you have this kind of power. Yeah, that's not going to work. Let's try to go for a clean lap here. You see the front tires are pushing. You're kind of balancing between understeer and oversteer because it's understeer on the chassis and oversteer on the throttle. You have to be delicate because you have so much power and the rear end is so eager to slide. And we're just not even putting a good lap time in now. Now we're just making smoke. Now is that the rear tires are too hot and they're giving up all their grip, and the front tires are probably a little bit too punished as well. Yeah, that's the throttle is so sharp in dynamic mode as well that it's hard to get the control that you need. The F-Type Coupe is really fun for the same reasons. It's also not that great at limit handling. It's really fun because it can power slide so easily. I mean, it'll do this all day. like it'll do that forever, and that's what makes it so much fun. And it's so easy to control because the front end is really safe and stable, and generally a little understeery, but the rear end is so aggressive and so willing to power slide at a moment's notice. And that makes it fun when you want to show off to camera like I just did, or if you want to show off to your buddies. But it makes it hard to extract the fastest acceleration out of a corner because it's so eager to do the power slides. But the power slides are fun. I mean, they're a little easy in my opinion. That's third gear. Just, I mean, that's a little too easy when you can do it that much on just on throttle alone. I like to be able to work the chassis into the slide. But this chassis doesn't seem to be as willing to do it. I mean, I was getting a little bit of instability on the entry, but the default state seemed to be stability. Then with oversteer on throttle, overall, it's a hugely, monstrously powerful machine, and a fun one at that. But it lacks that sort of delicacy in the chassis that I really like from, you know, like the 911, for example. This is more of a brute force car, and I guess the irony with that is, you know, it takes a lot more care to handle when you're driving fast. You know, and you got a really big heavy hammer, you have to be really careful with where you aim it. You know, whereas if you got a scalpel, you got a bit more flexibility and allows a little bit more art form. And I'm really torturing an analogy there, but that's kind of how I see it. This is a hugely fun car, but I like the finesse that you get in like the 911 versus this. This is exciting, it makes terrific noises, it's all that, and it's good fun, but ultimately I think the chassis lets me down a bit. Hopefully we got a good lap time. Those laps weren't the cleanest. You could tell just by the amount of correction I'm doing on the oversteer, and the correction I was doing on the entry on the steering too. It was not the smoothest, and that's kind of a function of, you know, how brutish the car is. You know, sure, I'm not the greatest driver in the world. I like to think I'm okay, but a lot of it is just responding to how quickly the car wants to oversteer and how eager it is to do that, even in third gear at like 30 miles an hour. I mean, it's kind of crazy how in third gear you can stop the gas and, you know, get oversteer or downshift to this. It downshifted the second there, but you get the idea. I'm like, it's kind of ridiculous. But that might be the point of the car. Jaguar F-Type Coupe R. The R stands for ridiculous. I should write that down.